All right, welcome to Oceans Unlimited, where we're going to be taking a look at visual light list data. Now, this is going to be part one of a two-part video series, and it's going to dovetail with a previous video where we already showed you how to add chart overlays into Google Earth. Now, we're going to put a link to that video. Hopefully, bear with me. I'm still trying to figure out how to use YouTube. A little bit new to that, but we'll try to get a link to that previous video so you can kind of see where we're coming from. This is going to require Microsoft Excel to get it done. In the future, I might work up a version of how to do it in Google Spreadsheets, Google Sheets, which is a free product. Right now, Excel does a pretty good job because it's just something that it's easy to work with and it has all the nice connections. Basically, we're gonna set up an actual data connection to the U.S. Coast Guard site itself, which will allow you to keep your data current. And once you have this data in Google Earth, you can add all the markup you want, make some pretty cool customizations, whatever you want to do to make your learning easier. And our disclaimer, as always, this is an educational demonstration. It's not for actual navigation, so don't go out there with your Google Earth trying to scoot around on the water. That's just not going to fly. Anyway, let's get right into it. First thing we need to do is get the light list data from the United States Coast Guard, and they have a convenient website for us. U.S. Coast Guard Light List, USCG Light List, that's fine, and it's going to be the top one there. First choice on the list brings us to the Navigation Center homepage here for light list data, and as you can see, they have a nice little map for us divided into separate districts. We're going to want the weekly light lists because those are the ones that are updated weekly. And on this page, we can see the same information minus the map. It's just going to divide it up into different districts. So that's fine for now. We're just going to be setting up one connection and then we can modify it to get whatever district you happen to be interested in. So we're going to want the raw XML file. It doesn't really matter which one you click, just right click on one of these links, the raw XML file link, and you're going to want to copy the address. Okay, so you've got the link. We're going to go to Excel, to a blank spreadsheet page here, and you want the data tab on the top and get data, other sources from web. And this gives us a nice simple window. And in the URL bar here, we're just going to paste our link from the U.S. Coast Guard. Hit OK. And we have a few different return pieces here. We want the one that says data root. And that's going to give us a nice little table. So then we want to transform the data, right? This is going to be the table and the date that it's updated. So it's pretty recent, March 19th. I'm going to transform this data now so that it looks nice and gives us something we can then put into Google Earth. So here in the Power Query editing window, we're going to be doing a few things to clean up and get to the data, drill down into the right areas. And it's just going to be a step-by-step process, and the steps are going to be reflected here on the right side as we step through this. So we're just going to click on the table link here. So here's the actual data, right? We have the columns and things in the columns. Good. We're looking good so far. Right now, I'm going to take a little bit of time to get rid of things that I don't necessarily need. I don't need the district number, so I'm going to remove this column. I don't really need the cross-reference. This is our identifying number. That's our reference that the Coast Guard uses, and that's really the only one I care about. Here's our name for each navigation aid. Don't really need this column type. Not that interesting. Definitely want to keep the positional information. That's going to be essential for if we want to import this into Google Earth. And once we get to these columns here, height, location, structure, a lot of them just have the word table in the actual cell. you're going to want to click this button up top here. You're going to want to see some part of this that says element : text. As long as you see that, that's fine. You hit OK, and that's going to load values into that column. So you can do that for each one of these. Location, structure. It's going to give us that. Some of these are empty. They don't have text. Some of them just have null. That just means those are empty values. That's okay. Not every navigational aid has a description area, especially if it's just like a basic buoy. We're getting lots of good data filled in here. Raycon, this is the Raycon data if it flashes in a Morse code pattern. Characteristic, night and day. I don't think I really need that one, so I can, let's go ahead and delete that. And we have our range, and that's our nominal range. That's good stuff. Okay. We're going to do a few more things that are going to help us work with Google Earth later down the road. I'm going to select this column. I'm going to hold down Shift and select that column. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a replace value. So I'm going to find a value and replace it. I don't want hyphens. I want just spaces. So I'm going to look at this window here. I'm going to put in dash, and then I'm going to replace it with space. Right, so dash space, hit OK, and you can see that took the hyphens out of our position data. That's good. That's what we want. Google Earth likes that a lot better. And then for the columns here that have text, I want to select this one, and I think that's all. Actually, location as well. So this one, and this one. I think location has some textual information. Yeah, we want to basically remove any commas. So I'm going to do the same thing, replace values. I'm going to look for commas, and I'm going to replace those with spaces as well. So that should get rid of any commas. The reason we do that is later on we're going to need to work with comma separated value files. And having commas in there can confuse the data a little bit. We want to avoid that. Okay, so we're looking good. We have all of our different tables that we want. I'm just going to go through because I'm a little bit anal. I'm going to change the names on these. This one, I'm just going to do latitude. I don't need all this other junk in there. Longitude, height, location, structure, remarks. I'm just going to call that Raycon. Characteristic, of course, and our range. Okay, so that wasn't so bad. We're going to say close and load here, and that's going to put our cleaned up data into our spreadsheet, and there we have it. Now that I have my data, I'm going to call this D1 to represent District 1. Give the table itself a name. This has to be distinct from the bottom one, so I'm going to call this Dist1. And I'm going to go to the Query tab up here on top. This is going to have information on our Power Queries, the one we just set up, and I'm going to click on Duplicate. I want to create a copy of what I have so that I can change it around a little bit. So if we go here onto the side panel, we're going to have our original query and then a new query. To keep organized, I'm going to give this a name. We'll call it District 1, or whichever one you used. So I want another set of lights. I want lights from a different district. And let's go back to our Coast Guard website. Our first example that I set up was Volume 1, District 1. We're going to be changing this to Volume 4 in District 8, and you're going to see that's basically all we need to do is change 1s and 1s to 4s and 8s. We'll go through that in a second here. If you look at our new link, if you hover over that link, if you look in the lower left-hand corner, your browser should show you a preview. As you can see, on the very right-hand side, we have V4D08 as compared to, I'm going to hover over our original link here, V1D01, right? Volume 1, District 1. And then we're going to be changing this to Volume 4, District 8. So let's go back and make our changes. Let's start by changing the name of our copied query to District 8. That'll keep things distinct. So looking at the District 8 query, this is the same as the District 1 query right now. If we right-click and go to Advanced Editor, this is going to bring out the actual instructions that are behind our applied steps list. So don't freak out, don't get too intimidated. All we're going to do is change a few digits, just like those links that we looked at on the weekly update page. Instead of Volume 1, District 1, I'm going to change this to Volume 4, District 8. And that's actually going to be something that we need to update for this long string here too. This is the actual ugly table heading, this long string right here. We're going to do the same surgery and just make slight changes. So we have volume, we're skipping this weird underscore thing. So volume 1 needs to become volume 4. And then District 1, that's now District 8. Same thing here. Almost done. Oh, it looks like I put 1 in there, so 4. So Volume 4, District 8. Volume 4, District 8 looks good. Okay, we should be able to hit done. And that should give us a different set of lights. So if you look here, that's we're starting with this. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. But if we switch back to District 1, yeah, North Rock light is our top light. In District 8, it's this guy here. So cool, right? With just a little change, we now don't have to redo our effort, and we can load in a second set of data. And that's going to load into a separate sheet. That should do that right away. I'm going to change the color here, something different. We'll go black. Back in black. Okay, so we have a separate set of queries. We now have 8,000 or so in our District 8. Excellent. And then, again, I'm going to change the name to match. Call that D8. So we have our D1 table. That's our North Rock light at the top. D8. There's our District 8. Everything looks good. We don't have any hyphens. Our data looks nice and clean, and we've got a lot of it. So nice, quick, and easy. The other cool thing is that you can refresh the data. If you just go to the table design page here, you can go to refresh. I think you can go to data and hit refresh. There's a lot of places where the refresh button exists in Excel, and that should pull up an updated copy each time you hit it. That's going to wrap up video 1 in this series. When we come back to part 2, we're going to show you how to filter this data down, break it off into a little bit more digestible pieces, so to speak, and put it into Google Earth so that you can take a look at it visually. We'll see you next time. Thanks.